Good day, everyone. Today we will review the storyline in the first zone of Shadowlands, Bastion. And before I begin to discuss the storylines Bastion gives us in the game, it's important that we review the mini video for Bastion that Blizzard released before Shadowlands was released. The video shows the passing of Uther Lightbringer after his death at the hands of Arthas, and his journey in the afterlife being taken into the fold of the Winged Kyrian. Uther, however, is unable to break his bond with his former life. He is unable to forget the trauma he received at the hands of his former pupil. He yearns for justice. And the Paragon Devos has taken an interest in Uther. She's concerned over the fact he can't break his bond with his former life, and finds that his soul has been damaged when it was torn apart by Frostmourne. The burning runes that were emblazoned upon the blade of Frostmourne are symbols of the power of the Maw, the same runes that are burning on the jailer himself. Devos is angered and frightened when she finds that the power of the Maw was somehow being used in the mortal plane, and she takes her case to the leader of the Kyrian, the Archon, and speaks of her concern that if Uther had been able to shed his former life, they never would have found out about the powers of the Maw being used on Azeroth. And the Archon chooses only to remind Devos of the Kyrian's sacred charge and that she must abandon her interest in Uther and basically to do her damn job. This in turn only serves to push Devos even further, as she then chooses to side with Uther, granting him ascension well before he has earned it, and then waiting for Arthas' soul to arrive in the afterlife, where instead of taking him before the Arbiter to be judged, Uther casts Arthas into the Maw in the name of justice. But at this point, Uther appears to have only gone mad with a lust for vengeance. This is what we know of the Bastion Zone before we enter it. It is largely a mystery. Was Uther disposing of Arthas into the Maw part of some grand plan? Did it have anything to do with causing the Arbiter to fall unconscious, unable to judge the souls of the dead as they enter the afterlife? Our character enters the Bastion story when they arrive from Oribos to begin their investigation. We arrive at the Vestibule of Eternity and are greeted by Clea, a soul who had nearly reached ascension before the drought of souls and anima began. She is excited to bring you before the greeter. Unfortunately, the greeter has been powered down due to a lack of anima, so you are tasked with gathering the anima from the Centurions that are on display. However, you can tell that they are in disrepair. They're low on anima, and you have to remove a little more just to power the greeter, who then sends you around to 4 stations to begin your orientation into the world of the Kyrian, believing in the virtues of purity, courage, humility, wisdom, and loyalty. When you move on to the second station to be cleansed of the pain crossing the veil, a dark shroud appears and turns into the visage of the blackened Kyrian that you saw when you were briefly stuck within the Maw. This really seems to upset Clea. When we return to the greeter, Clea believes we need to talk to the Archon, the leader of the Kyrian, and inform her of these twisted Kyrian that appear to be in league with the Maw. At this point, one of the ascended Calistine arrives to find out why anima was being used to power the greeter. When Clea informs Calistine about the twisted Kyrian and the need to see the Archon, Calistine is dismissive, saying if we want to see the Archon, then we will need to walk the path of ascension. Clea takes me first to gather her soulbind, Pelagos, whom I need to help rescue after he got himself involved in a ritual that was way over his head. We then move on to the Aspirant's Crucible, where the Forge Light Sophony helps us relive the memories of 3 acts of service, recalling some battles from previous expansions and speaking of how my soul has seen so much in so little time. We are then asked to help in forging new armor for ourselves. It is here we learn of the Stewards, which are creatures made explicitly to help the Kyrian in their day-to-day tasks. They sound like an engineered slave class. After we create our armor, we are next sent for combat training, learning a lesson in humility along the way as we are easily defeated by a large centurion. And then we move on to our first ritual cleansing, where we battle an anguished memory. I think it would have been a lot of fun if this memory would have been in the form of whatever boss we died to the most as we had our journey through World of Warcraft, but sadly, it's just another generic ghost. It is at this point we once again meet with Celestine, who tells us she has informed the Archon of our message, and in return of our service, grants us a gift and thanks us for the information. This upsets Clea as she believes she is being dismissed and that the word of an aspirant should be enough to spur action. Unfortunately, it is not, and we return to the Aspirant's Rest, where we are summoned by Disciple Cosmos to the Temple of Purity. They are being overwhelmed and are being spread too thin, and they need help. As we arrive and learn how souls are cleansed of their past lives, both the negatives and positives, as even attachments of love and family are removed in the name of service to the Kyrian. At this time, we see many aspirants being consumed by their doubts and becoming the darkened Forsworn before our eyes. This is a difficult time for the Kyrian. We can see groups of Forsworn being surrounded by Ascended. The aspirants are struggling with their attachment to their past lives. This would be hard to do when they can see no real future. It is not as if there are souls pouring into the afterlife as per usual. There isn't even really enough anima at the moment to move those deserving of ascension through it, like Clea. So the aspirants are living in a sort of limbo. Why would they give up their past lives? Iridia, the Hand of Purity, informs you that the Fallen are fleeing the temple and they must be rounded up for their own safety and taken to the Temple of Loyalty, that we are to go out and search for the disciple Nikolon, who has not returned to the temple. At this point, the Kyrian are coming up like some authoritative regime or cult, but at the same time, the Shadowlands are also a plane different from our own, so it is hard to judge them on the same standards when everything has been running like a well-oiled machine up to this point. When we do find Disciple Nikolon, we catch the last glimpse of a conversation he's having with Uther, who is trying to influence him. Nikolon agrees to return to the Temple of Purity, where Iridia attempts to purify him, saying it was necessary, but Nikolon is filled with doubt. He questions every moment of the process and falls in front of our eyes. He is encouraged to go to the Temple of Loyalty, but he rejects, saying they are coming and he will stand with them. The Forsworn arrive in force, literally crushing aspirants beneath them, and they attack the temple. We repel the attacks, but Iridia is distraught. She can't believe this is what happened to those they sent to the Temple of Loyalty and sheds a tear. She says she knows the voice of the one who is attacking them, that it is Lysonia, the Hand of the Temple of Loyalty, and we must confront her and cleanse the great Vespers, the mighty bells of Bastion. Iridia engages Lysonia in this battle of words over why their paradigm is the correct one, while our character sneaks off and cleanses the bells. When we finish, we find that Iridia is being defeated, and we must buy her more time, and we engage Lysonia ourselves until Persephone, the paragon of purity, arrives, and Lysonia flees, but not before leaving an echo of her memories, a fragment. Persephone states she must inform the Archon, but entrusts our character to examine the fragment of Lysonia's memory with Clea and Pelagos. They take me to the mnemonic locus, which is a kind of library where the memories of souls are extracted and kept, where we join up with Mechanicos, the Forge Light Prime, the steward who created the Centaurions. He is shocked that the library has been taken over by the Forsworn. We are able to get the soul extractor working though, and begin examining the memory, going from mirror to view each of them. The first memory shows a shadowy figure talking to a young aspirant Lysonia. In the second memory, we see this shadowy figure asking an ascended Lysonia into leading the Kyrian to a new future. In the third memory, we witness Lysonia leading the Forsworn onward to attack the Temple of Purity. The fourth memory has the shadowy figure engaging Uther and Lysonia, but says she has more to share with Lysonia before the memory is interrupted, and we are told we are not authorized to view the rest of it. We are able to fix the corrupted machine and are sent to the Vault of the Archon to view the rest of the final memory. Not sure how memory extraction works and why all memories needed to be viewed at different places, but that is where we are. Once we deal with a bunch of issues in the Vault of the Archon, we witness the last memory fragment, it being revealed that they are in league with the Mossworn, that they don't fight for Bastion alone, and that they are going to take the Temple of Purity and then another, and that Uther is not ready to learn this truth. Now that we have proof of the connection between the Maw and the Forsworn, we need to seek an audience with the Archon immediately. Calistine reopens the gateway to Hero's Rest, where she says she will get us an audience with Polemarch, the right hand of the Archon. After we summon the Polemarch, he grants us an audience with the Archon due to Calistine vouching for us. We finally get to meet with the Archon, Kyrestria, the Firstborn. Interestingly enough, we see Devos, stating that the Archon has dismissed claims like this in the past, and we know that she has had a hand in Uther falling, so we do not know where her loyalties lie. Kyrestria sends the Paragons back to their wards, and I am sent to examine the wards of Bastion and see if they still hold. We find that the Ward of Purity had been disabled, but the rest of the wards hold, at least until Uther arrives and disables the Ward of Courage. I am quickly dispatched to the Temple of Courage to follow up. We see Lysonia talking with the goddess Helia, announcing that their allies are ready to strike, and portals open up, and we see the forces of Maldraxxus pour through to attack the temple. We join forces with the Hand of Courage, Thanakos, and salvage the pieces needed to reanimate a Centurion Colossus, and the Anima which will run it, which we use to fight back against the forces of Maldraxxus with its arcane barrage. Amarth, the head of the Maldraxxus force, heads to attack the Paragon of Courage, and Thanakos heads to defend her. But he is surrounded, and Amarth uses Anima to transform him into a monstrosity. The Paragon of Courage, Xandria, chases Amarth off, and you are whisked away to inform Oribos of the attack. Maldraxxus is supposed to be fighting for the Shadowlands, not against it, and you are being sent next to Maldraxxus to figure out what is happening. And that's where we'll pick it up next time in our next video. Thanks everybody. Please, if you enjoy the videos, you can subscribe below, like the video, and we're heading on to Maldraxxus next. Thanks so much.